Okay, for the final step in our assignment brief, we need to be adding a drum kit rhythmic accompaniment. So the first thing that we'll need to do is add another track. So select add track. Now this time, rather than using an instrument, we're going to go ahead and use a drum machine. Now this has given us two regions on our track, and we're only going to use one region or one different pattern. So I'm going to select the second one there and just hit my backspace key to delete that region. This region now that I'm left to work with, I'm going to take over to where our bass line starts and put it to start at bar 29 as well. Okay, now I would like you to pause your video there and just complete those two steps for me. So add a track, select drum machine. You need to delete the second region and drag this remaining region over to bar 29. Okay, now to program a drum machine, we're going to use something called a step sequencer. It's a little bit like that matrix that we used before for our MIDI editor. You'll notice that the MIDI editor is not available on our drum machine, but if we double click on this little icon beside the drum machine, we get a little step sequencer like this. You'll notice that it's already got a pattern programmed into it, which if we press play, it sounds like this. Okay, so that's the pattern that we're given as a default. It is being played on an 808 kit, which is a electronic drum machine sound. So we are going to change that sound from to a drum kit, an acoustic drum kit rather than a electronic one like that. So just select on the 808 kit here in the in the drop down menu and select drum kits. And I'd like you to go to the pop rock kit. Now when we play that, you'll hear it's still got the same rhythmic pattern, but the sonority or the timbre, the sound of the drums, is different. Okay, so that's the pattern that we are gifted when we start. Now, to make things easier, we're going to keep a little portion of this pattern, but we're going to edit some things. This list down the left-hand side shows you the instruments that are available. We're going to stick with our bass drum first. Now, the bass drum pattern that we're given here, we're not going to make all that many changes to. We're just going to turn off the very last orange line there, so that we're just left with dum, 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 dum in our bass part. We're going to go ahead and turn off the purple lines as well, or the purple dots. That's our snare. And on this green line instead, what we've got is a rim shot, which is still played on a snare drum, just sounds a little bit different. The stick hits the metal part of the drum rather than the skin. And we're going to turn that on the last beat of the bar. So again, with this step sequencer, your matrix from your MIDI editor is roughly the same. You're given 4 beats, and you can see those as beat 1 is this collection of lighter squares here. Beat 2 is this collection of darker squares. Beat 3, collection of lighter squares. And beat 4, collection of darker squares again. So if things are happening on the beat, they're going to be in the first vertical line there of each beat, okay? And then halfway through, as a quaver, it would be halfway through the respective colour. Okay, the last thing that we need to do to fix our pattern is just get rid of this open hi-hat sound on the second semiquaver of the first beat, and we'll be left with a pattern that looks like that and sounds like this. Okay. Okay, I would like you to go ahead and complete those steps. So just making sure that your bass pattern correlates to what you see here. You can turn off your snare drum, the purple dots, your rim shot on the last beat of the bar. You won't need to do anything to the red dots here, which are your hi-hat sound, and you just need to turn off the yellow dot, which would have appeared for your open hi-hat. Go ahead and do those and come back to the video when you are ready. Okay, last thing that we need to do is just loop that again. So we're going to just close this drum machine step sequencer editor here, and we're left again with our region which should play as normal when we press play now. We just need to loop that out through to the end of the track one more time. And then that, just making sure that it's accurate. And remember, we can always zoom in to see that things are starting and finishing on the correct beats of the bar. And now we can have a listen to how verse 2 will sound with our bass guitar and our drum machine in as well.
I'm going under when this time I feel there's no one to turn to. This all and nothing way of loving, go be sleeping without you. Oh, I need somebody to know, somebody to hear, somebody to have, just to know how it feels. It's easy.
Okay, go ahead and listen to your work, but before you do that, make sure that you have saved your work. And that should complete the project as outlined in your assignment brief. Well done.